So I'm going to show you with this one how you need to start by breaking it down to more simple shapes. And if we look at the church tower, it's basically a large rectangular box. And then about halfway, about a third of the way down the tower comes the roof. And that's where we need to establish a few perspective lines. And we're not going to need all these lines, but they do help us to judge size and shape and perspective early on in the scene. Now the roof continues on. It's quite a long building, but actually you only glimpse that. It's important to put it in because you do certainly glimpse it, but it's just a glimpse between the trees. I'm not trying to put too much detail in at first, but just enough to give me the information that I'm going to use later on to make it into a painting. And then these trees are quite an important part of it. They give the scene a balance. It's important to note that this is higher than the church. If it was the same height, it would spoil the composition. You wouldn't be sure which to look at first, the tree or the church, but this sort of sets the scene. If you look at the stonework on this cottage, there's pinks, reds, browns, greys, a little bit of blue reflected from the sky. And in order to make it look varied and interesting, we need to get a few of these colours mixed, ready to use. I'm going to start with a bit of Naples yellow. This is a lovely creamy yellow colour. And I'm adding to that Naples yellow a little bit of cobalt violet to create a sort of warm pink colour. Now a nice stone colour made from raw sienna and burnt sienna, and if you remember, that was the first colour again that we used in the sky, and this will give the picture some harmony because these colours are occurring again in the stonework. Now a touch of cobalt blue with a little bit of cobalt violet, and I'm going to put a little touch of burnt sienna into that to make it into a grey. Okay, so I'm going to start with that slight pinky colour and paint it over the stonework on all of the buildings. Where the windows are painted with white paint, I'm leaving a little white space to represent the window. I'm just going to soften that with a bit of clear water so it stays moist. Then I'm taking the raw sienna and burnt sienna and dropping that in. I want these colours to drift in with each other and merge on the paper. You get far more interesting results if you let these colours mix on the paper than if you try mixing too many of them together in the palette. A bit of that grey. It's quite nice at this stage to just let yourself free with your brush and just drop these colours in rather than looking at exactly where they are on your photograph. I mean, I don't think there's any problem in working from photographs, but it is a mistake to follow them too slavishly. So these marks I'm putting in don't follow a regular pattern. They're a bit haphazard and random. And as I do them, we'll gradually build up a sort of impression of a dry stone wall. But again, like any other building, it shouldn't be over detailed. Well, there's very little to do now to finish this. Just a couple of things I've noticed need doing. I've lost the roof line a bit further down here, so I'm just going to use a fine brush with some dark brown to get that. And there's a little cross shape on the edge of the roof here. I'm just going to put in as well little details, just little finishing touches. Now, looking back at this area at the left hand side, I'm going to get a little bit of dark green paint. I'm going to add a bit of cerulean blue to it so I get more of that cooler green I used in the background right in the first instance, and then try and bring back that little shape, that roof of the church there.